In Palestine, at least 11 people were killed during airstrikes by Israel on Rafah, where 1.5 million Palestinians are currently taking shelter. In Argentina, the government of Javier Milei announced increases of up to 150% in electricity tariffs for users in the metropolitan area of Buenos Aires. And in India, a major fire ripped through a paint factory on Friday, killing at least 11 people and injuring 4 others. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. In Palestine, at least 11 people were killed on Thursday night during airstrikes by Israel on Rafah, where 1.5 million Palestinians are taking shelter. Local sources confirmed that Israeli occupation forces shelled 2 houses in Nasser neighborhood east of Rafah, resulting in the killing of 11 Palestinians and multiple injured. Earlier in the evening, at least 2 people were killed and others were injured in attacks in the east of Jabalia in the northern part of Gaza. Search and rescue teams continue their efforts to locate possible survivors. Since last October 7th, Israel has killed more than 28,663 people, including 12,000 children in the Strip, while more than 68,000 people have been wounded.
All of a sudden, a missile hit the house, and my brother called and said that the house has been bombed. We ran to the area, which is called Shabura, and it's a very populated area. 4 were martyred, and also my nephew lost his leg. Our house was razed to the ground, and our neighbors' houses were also razed to the ground.
Meanwhile, patients in bed lined the corridors of Nasser Hospital in Gaza on Thursday. The Nasser Hospital is the main hospital in southern Gaza and was stormed by the IDF forces earlier this day. Israeli fire killed a patient and wounded 6 others inside the complex. The Israeli army said this was a limited operation seeking the remains of the hostages taken by Hamas. The raid came a day after the army sought to evacuate thousands of displaced people who had taken shelter at Nasser Hospital in the city of Khan Yunis, in the focus of Israel's offensive against Hamas in the recent weeks. And the attacks in Gaza by the Israeli occupying forces in Palestine have triggered a humanitarian catastrophe with shortages of basic necessities and severe impact on infants, young children, and their parents. While international and local agencies report that products such as diapers and infant formula are hard to find or reach unaffordable prices, Palestinians are seeking ways to subsist in the face of Israeli genocide. In this way, Palestinian officials note that a small factory in the town of Rafah is providing a release for families struggling with economic hardship by offering an affordable solution to a critical need for baby diapers. In this regard, Maisa Al-Gatati, director of the factory, explained they produce around 500 pieces every day, although the director acknowledges that they do not meet the high demand. In this regard, Al-Gatati pointed out that a pack of Pampers can cost up to $70 and the equivalent product they make reaches a maximum of $10.
The idea came to us from the needs of the people in the market. People were looking for Pampers and could not find them. They will buy it in a very high price. We can keep up with the high demand from people. We prepare 500 pieces every day, which is what our tailors can make, and we cannot keep up because the price is cheaper than what is on the market. You can find his stuff in the market, and the packet of Pampers is sold for about 280 shekels. We sell it for 40 or 20 shekels, which is something people can afford.
On Thursday, the Council of the Arab League has affirmed that Israel's Commission for the crime of forcibly displacing the Palestinian people constitutes an attack on Arab national security. In an extraordinary session of permanent representatives on Thursday, the Council expressed concern over the unprecedented dire conditions in Rafah, the southernmost city of the Gaza Strip, along the border with Egypt, citing Israel's plans and intentions to forcibly displace about 1.5 million Palestinian citizens there outside Palestinian territory. The Arab League Council denounced the ongoing Israeli aggression against the Syrian Arabic Republic and the Republic of Lebanon. The aggression includes the killings of civilians and the destruction of homes and infrastructure in violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of both states, as well as of international law. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva met his Egyptian counterpart Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in El Cairo on Thursday for talks over the situation in Palestine. During the talks, Lula expressed his government position regarding the conflict and accused the Israeli occupation forces of carrying out a genocidal war in Gaza.
Brazil has strongly condemned the attack carried out by Hamas against Israel and the act of taking hostages. We condemned and spoke out against the terrorist attack. But there is no justification for the Israeli response to defeat the Hamas movement. Unfortunately, it is killing women and children, which is something that we have never seen in any war, that I have knowledge of.
The Greek and Palestinian governments insist on finding alternatives to stop Israeli invasion on the Gaza Strip and ensure access to humanitarian aid. Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki, in talks with his Greek counterpart, stressed the lack of aid due to the blockade and restrictions imposed by Israel. He indicated that the idea of the Israeli regime is to expel all Palestinians abroad. Al-Maliki also referred to the increase of violence in the West Bank, calling for an immediate ceasefire.
For us, this is very important, and that's why we talked about how to stop the invasion of Rafah. We talked about how to bring humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, which is certainly scarce because of the barriers and conditions that Israel puts on the entry of such aid. And this aid must enter in large quantities and must enter all areas, including the northern part of the Gaza Strip. We talk about preventing displacement, regardless of its names. This displacement that aims to drive the Palestinian people out of the Gaza Strip abroad.
Lebanon will submit a new complaint against Israel to the UN Security Council following the aggressions against civilians in the south. Acting Prime Minister Najib Mikati confirmed this on Thursday. According to the X account of the Lebanese government, the chief executive asked Foreign Minister Abdullah Bo Habib to urgently condemn before the United Nations the persistent Israeli attacks, the killings of citizens, and the massive destruction, in particularly of what happened on Wednesday in Nabatea. It is also underlined that the Speaker of the Lebanese Parliament, Nabi Berri, and the head of the Resistance Loyalty Bloc in the Lebanese Parliament, Mohammad Raad, pointed out the racist character and the impossibility of Israel to coexist with human beings. Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Argentina, the government of Javier Milei announced this Thursday increases of up to 150% in electricity rates for users in the metropolitan area of Buenos Aires. The Secretary of Energy established the new tariff charts for the AMBA, which will lead to increases of between 65% and 150% on average, depending on the economic levels of the users. Within this framework, it pointed out that a monthly update mechanism will start to be applied as from April. The rate hike in electricity comes in a context in which the national gas regulator has already announced that it will analyze the rate increases requested by the gas distribution and transportation companies at the public hearing in January, which goes up to 704%. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro announced the creation of the Special Presidential Command of the 1-4-10 system of good government. On Thursday, the Venezuelan president affirmed that the command will serve to combat bureaucracy and to improve the efficiency of his government plans in the national territory. Likewise, the creation of the command will guarantee the protection and welfare of Venezuelans and will also contribute to the recovery of the real economy and the social rights of the people. The Venezuelan head of state also condemned the seizure of the Venezuelan airplane TeleSUR in Argentina, pointing out that the government of Javier Milei is the new hero of the Venezuelan ultra-right.
The bandit Milei stole the plane from Venezuela. Javier Milei, the hero of the ultra-right, are the surnames. That same hero of the ultra-right are the surnames stole a big plane from Venezuela, from you, the workers of Conviasa. Now Milei is a hero. Milei, the crazy Milei, he pretends to be crazy or he is crazy or both, but he stole a plane from Venezuela.
In this context, deputies of the National Assembly of Venezuela rejected the seizure of the Venezuelan airplane TeleSUR in Argentina. During Thursday's ordinary session, Congressman Pedro Infante indicated that the seizure of the aircraft represents a value of at least $83 million, in addition to being an attack on the operational capacity of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The deputy also stated that the seizure of the aircraft by the United States was carried out in complicity with the government of Argentina.
We have proposed in this National Assembly to debate a draft agreement to condemn, repudiate, reject the blatant theft of an airplane that is property of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Now the people who see us and listen to us will say, well, what is that airplane? They should know that Venezuela owns a Boeing 747-300 that is a huge plane, one of the biggest planes in the world, a cargo plane, a plane that also has a cost of approximately $83 million. People of Venezuela on February 12 took off from Argentina a plane that cost $83 million and that belongs to the people of Venezuela. They just stole $83 million from us. That is that TeleSUR plane, property of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
In other news, Haiti's government announced on Wednesday that it is working on a formal agreement with Kenyan officials to secure the deployment of a police force from the East African country to combat the rising wave of violence in the Caribbean nation. The Ariel Henry government indicated that it is working on a memorandum of understanding to set a deadline for the arrival of the Kenyan police forces on Haitian territory. The deployment was requested in October of the year 2022 and approved by the UN Security Council a year later. President William Ruto persists in leading the security mission in Haiti despite the judicial block issued by the court in Nairobi. The court at the time was stressing that it would be unconstitutional to deploy officers abroad unless there was a reciprocal arrangement in place with the host government. On Thursday, members of opposed parties to Macky Sall's government were released from prison in Senegal amid a political crisis gripping the country. In this regard, the African nation is expecting the Senegalese president to take action to appease public opinion after intense protest and international concern following his decision earlier this month to delay presidential elections. It should be noted that during the demonstrations, at least 3 people died as a result of police repression. Precisely, various opposition and civil groups issued new calls for demonstrations on Friday and Saturday.
Sí, estoy muy orgulloso y puedo
Yes,
decir
I'm
que es
very
una
proud
liberación
and I
muy
can say
merecida,
that it's a
porque
very
me digo a mí
well-deserved
mismo que
release
no hice
because
nada,
I tell myself that
absolutamente
I did
nada.
nothing,
Me encontraron en mi
absolutely
casa,
nothing.
me
They
arrestaron,
found
me
me in
dieron
my
razones
house, they arrested
inexistentes,
me,
lo
they
cual
gave
es
me non-existent
inconcebible
reasons,
en un
which is
país
inconceivable
democrático.
in a democratic
Exigimos la
country.
liberación de
We
nuestros
demand the release
camaradas.
of our comrades.
Pedimos la
We demand
liberación
the
de
release
todos
of
los
our political
detenidos
detainees,
políticos,
specifically of
específicamente del
President
presidente
Guzman Sonko,
Ousmane Sonko,
Basiru
Basiru
Diomaye,
Diomaye
and others.
y otros.
In other news, Greece has become the first Orthodox Christian country to legalize same-sex marriage, despite opposition from the church and some politicians. The vote, which came after 2 days of debate and weeks of public reactions, will now legally allow same-sex couples to adopt children as well. People in favor of the vote celebrated and cheered on the streets of the capital, Athens, while those opposed, including many identifying with the Orthodox Church, rallied in protest. Greece had until now lagged behind some of its European neighbors in the 27-member bloc due to its opposition from a portion of the socially conservative nation, especially from the Orthodox Church. The country has now become the first country in southeastern Europe to pass legislation legalizing same-sex marriage.
A very beautiful day that we have been waiting for years. I feel very good and I hope that the people are as happy today with this decision.
We have a final short break coming up, but before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and also share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In India, a major fire ripped through a paint factory on Friday, killing at least 11 people and injuring 4 others. According to firefighters, the fire started in the evening hours on the ground floor of the factory, trapping the victims who were on the upper floors. The building, which also houses a chemical warehouse, is located in the Alipur area north of New Delhi. In total, 22 fire engines were needed to extinguish the flames completely and remove the bodies after 5 hours of work by the rescue forces.
Suddenly, there was a very loud noise. I came out of my store and saw a big fire. I was working in my store, and I got even more scared after I saw the fire.
South Korean trainee doctors threatened to resign, opposing a government plan to drastically increase the number of people who can seek a medical degree in a move that could shake the healthcare system in the country. Interns and residents at 5 major general hospital groups, including Seoul National University Hospital, plan to submit their letters of resignation en masse on Monday and walk off their jobs 6 a.m. the following day. This action due to the proposed from the government of increasing the current enrollment cap at university offering medical degrees with the addition of 2,000 more slots to reverse a shortage of doctors. The labor action could lead to disruptions in surgeries and prompt a wider collective action among more than 12,000 other senior doctors in the same labor group. Local media in Myanmar on Friday reported that thousands of people are seeking to leave the country following the announcement of mandatory military service. In this sense, locals lined up at the Thai embassy in Yangon with the intention of leaving the country after the announcement of the new measure. Meanwhile, the country military said last weekend it would enforce a law that states that all men between the ages of 18 and 35 and women between the ages of 18 and 27 should serve in military roles for at least 2 years. The law was drafted in the year 2010 but was never exercised, and it is still unclear how it would be exercised today. Hong Kong cracked on Friday its biggest money laundering case ever, with approximately $1.7 billion involved. Hong Kong officials declared that it was a large-scale transnational money laundering syndicate where evidence from jewels to banks account details were presented packed in plastic bags. The head of the Custom Financial Investigation Bureau said that some of the money flowing through the accounts is connected to online scams originated in India. 7 people have been arrested so far in connection with this case, and Hong Kong still has easy international banking and business regulations, which makes it possible to set up and operate without a lot of red tape.
We found that a large amount of money came from India as well as other overseas bank accounts. That's why we contacted the other overseas law enforcement agencies with a view to conducting intelligence exchange. And in this process, the Indian authorities exchanged intelligence with us, and we found that certain bank transactions were actually connected with 2 companies that have been taken down by the Indian authorities, being suspected to launder crime proceeds in relation to online mobile application scam.
On Thursday, the last all-element rehearsal for the opening ceremony of the upcoming 14th National Winter Game was held in Hulubiur City, north of China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. After a 4-year delay due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the great event in China will kick off on Saturday. Due to the cold weather, the opening ceremony will take place indoors at the speed skating arena. To showcase a more diverse range of elements within the limited space, the planning team has opted to utilize various visual mediums such as floor screens, standing screens, and overhead circular projection. The opening ceremony will feature well-known inner songs, bowl dance, and traditional Mongolian andai dance, wrestling, and horsehead fiddle performance, which are expected to deliver a rich ethnic charm to the audience. Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.